Welcome to Mindset, Mood and Movement, a systemic approach to human behavior, performance and well-being. Hello and welcome. Communication, it's a fantastic and wonderful skill and it's so needed in life and in business. We all know this. However, communication is often thought about what we're saying, and that is true to a point. But I want to break down this one today into what are we hearing, so levels of listening. I don't know about you, but I love to be really heard. It's beautiful, isn't it? When someone actually pays attention and deeply listens to you and they hear you. In today's world where people are distracted, there is a lot going on, quite a rare skill. So if you want to have better connections, communication, if you want to do better sales negotiations, client negotiations, partner relationship negotiations, you need to be able to listen. Now, we can study this, there's people who study this, but I'm going to give you my six that I find is the levels of listening that pop up. Now, number one, so I call it broadcast. We all know this, when someone is simply talking and they're droning on about their stuff and it's all about them. It's incredibly boring. It's incredibly self-centered. And my experience of that, when someone's doing that, not only are they lacking self-awareness, they're lacking respect for the other person. We have to be careful that we don't do this ourselves, because we can be so self-centered sometimes. We love our stuff, but be very careful that are we in broadcast mode? So that's level one. So you probably know people like this who simply talk at you. They don't listen. Okay. Level two, what I call, it's still about me really. So there's some talk, there's some interchange, and they may ask you a question. And then what happens? I don't know if you've had this, but I've had it. Someone says, well, hey Sal, what's going on with you? And I might say, well, I'm doing this and I've been doing that. And their attention's gone elsewhere. They're not even looking. They're not paying attention. You can feel it, can't you? They are not present. So if you are really in that space, you might ask a question or being asked a question, but you're not really present. So it's still about that person. Then we move on to what I call my third one, which is I know best. So there is some communication in terms of talk and listen. It's going on quite well. But often the other person's listening to answer and often listening to give a little bit of advice. Now, those of us in the helping and coaching consulting profession, often we do give guidance. It's very easy to slip into this role. I've caught myself sometimes and thought, I shouldn't be giving guidance there. I should have been asking a better question. So it happens. But the more self-aware we are, the more we can catch this phenomenon of getting into what we think is a good communication flow. And we are listening, but we're listening to respond. Now, this is where many people get stuck. I've coached loads of people, super lovely people, clever people, but they get stuck at this. And this is a part of when our mind is churning and listening and processing, but we're really not listening to hear, we're listening to respond. Very easy to get stuck here. So again, we don't need to give ourselves a hard time. Just notice it and then go, okay, what can I do better? My next level, I'll give you 5 minutes of airtime, but then it's still about me. So the person is really, let's say that person is listening to you and they're really invested in the listening, and then it sort of tails away. So they're probably able to hold a certain level of attention on listening, but then it goes away. And maybe that's you. Maybe you can only hold your listening attention for a while. And like any skill, it needs flexing the muscles. It needs training. We need to quieten that inner narrative, that listening to reply and being okay with that. A wonderful thing I found, if you're someone who's listening to reply, you feel it's important. In my work as coaching, I'm listening very deeply and I may reply. It's very important to reply to certain points. But if I get worried about forgetting what point I'm going to say, I get a little anxious about that. That then becomes the driving force. So allow yourself to maybe forget something. It's like, okay, it will come back. It's whirring around in the brain somewhere. It will come back when it's ready. So be less concerned about that point. It takes the pressure off and allows you to hear not just the words that they're saying, but the tonality, the subtext, what's going on between. And then this is where I'm talking about we're moving into this more elegant state of hear and be heard. You really hear what that person's saying and you quiet or steady within, and then you can respond. Or you simply hear that person. It's curious, when we are really heard, sometimes we don't even need a response. We know that person's got it. And then, of course, there's this almost like a dance, and it hands back over. Like, hey, what's going on with you? Or how is that working out? And then we start to get into this nice rhythmic harmony between you and the other. This is skillful. It takes practice. Right? They don't teach this in school. They don't teach you in business school. You have to learn it separately. It just isn't taught. Now, however you've been taught to listen is implicit by culture, upbringing, but we are adaptive creatures. We can change it anytime. And if we want to get really skillful, we want to go to the level 6, which I call deep listening. You don't just hear with your ears and your auditory system. You hear with your whole body. It's like you feel the resonance that's coming across from someone else's exchange. The words, tone of voice, maybe the pace, maybe even sense there's something going on. You're feeling at a deeper level. And we do get things at a deeper level. Our neuroceptive capabilities, our nervous system's below consciousness is picking up and reading information all the time. If you are steady and quiet within, like your center is steady, your mind is steady, you will hear someone so deeply that it's profound. Now, we don't need to get caught up in where am I on the list? Simply notice it. And if you find yourself a little at the top of the list and it's become too much about you, scale down a bit, slide down, hear and be heard. Get quiet, get steadier, get to that deeper listening state. And if you're with someone who's boring the life out of you and they're just droning on and they don't ask you anything, well, maybe that's not a conversation you need to be in. I've had them. You may know them yourself. I've got people in my sphere who are a little like that. That's all they can do in the world. So hold that with compassion, but you don't need to give them too much airtime. Yeah, so choosing your own state. So a bit of a nice quick dive into 6 levels of listening. Which one do you operate at? Which one would you like to operate at? Notice, and then I would always invite to try and get down to the deep levels. Hear and be heard, and ideally deep listening. That is a beautiful thing to do in an exchange, business, relationships, and in life. So, as always, do let me know what comes up for you. Many people comment. Feel free to comment, DM me, wherever you pick this up. Let me know. Does it resonate with you? Do you know someone on that scale? Where are you on that scale? And if you want to go deeper, use this content. Have a play. See if you can hear and be heard. Can you go to deep listening? Notice how that transforms your experience of interactions. Till the next time, take care. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe. And if a friend would benefit from hearing this, do send it on to them as well. If you would like to get in touch yourself, then you can go to my website, which is saljeffreys.com, spelled SALJEFFERIES, saljeffreys.com. Hit the Get in Touch link, and there you can send me a direct message. If you'd like to go one step further and learn whether coaching can help you overcome a challenge or a block in your life, then do reach out and I offer a call where we can discuss how this may be able to help you. Until the next time, take care.